Okay, good afternoon everyone and welcome to today's Hitwise webinar on Christmas planning for 2016. Before we get started, I would like to go through a few items just so you know how to participate in today's webinar. We do encourage questions and feedback, so you do have that opportunity to submit any questions or feedback by typing in the question in the pane on your screen. Feel free to submit those anytime during the presentation and we will collect them and address them at the end of the presentation. So we'll be recording today's session as well, and the recording link will be sent to everyone who has registered. I'd like to now introduce my speaker, Alice Almeida. Alice is the Manager of Innovation and Insight. She loves all things data and has 15 years media research experience. Over to you, Alice, to start the presentation.
Thank you, Helen, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. I know that it's a busy time of the year, so I appreciate any time that you can give me. I promise to keep this short and sweet. If you do have any questions and I can't get around to it in the time frame, please don't worry, we will get in touch and I will answer those questions for you. So today's presentation is predominantly around Christmas and retail and how the two go hand in hand. But what I'm going to start with is having a look back on 2015 and how that actually performed, look at the gift recap for last year, and also have a look at the gift guides for 2016. Well, one thing that we constantly get asked about is where mobile fits in, so I'll also touch on a bit of mobile. Now, because the Christmas season also includes quite a lot of travel, I've decided to briefly focus on some travel insights in this presentation. I haven't gone into too much detail with this because obviously that's a large category in itself, but I have touched on it briefly and I'll go through that in a second. And then, of course, I'll finish with a summary and some tips. So first up, let's look back on last Christmas. So December is king when you have a look at the actual reach for online retail and shopping and classified sites. So what we can see in December last year, there were 12.2 million Australian consumers online. There are over 109,000 different retail search term variations. So this is absolutely huge, and this is where the importance of needing to know how your consumers actually search for your products is vital. If you are only buying 2 or 3 terms, then you can see by this number that you're missing out on a substantial amount of your traffic. Then there's 73,585 active Christmas shoppers seeking out gifts. So these are people that have shown a very strong interest in actually buying Christmas gifts online. And if we look at the December period, auction sites such as eBay and Gumtree held 14.65% of all visits share. However, when you break that down for the week of Christmas, they actually drop, and I'll show you that in a second. So the top 3 shopping and classified sites for December were eBay, Gumtree and Amazon. This is not a very big surprise because they are huge sites in themselves. But the one interesting thing to do is that when you break it down and have a look at it by week, this is where department stores really come to life. So I'll bring up the different categories here. So obviously auction sites are well ahead of all the other categories. This just shows you the share of who's making up that, the 12.2 million. So if you have a look at December or the week ending 26th of the 12th, you will see the auction sites take a bit of a dive, and this is where department stores really start to spike. So when looking at that audience, it was actually the people that were looking for last-minute gifts. So they're the people, a lot like me, who leave their Christmas buying until the very last minute, and they need to go to one place to buy for 5 different people, and the most convenient place to do that is a department store. So this is where we are seeing the strongest jump from that. The other interesting thing to see is the health and beauty, which is the pink bar down the bottom. It actually doesn't see much of a shift around Christmas time at all. So it remains pretty much on the same level throughout the whole year. So this is just a really good insight to see which category performs around Christmas, and as you can see, most of them do. There's a couple of them that have random spikes in towards early January, such as house and garden, but that's when people are off work and they might be at home doing a bit of DIY or renovating, so they're online looking at those things. Now, I know this chart's a little bit busy, but it really kind of represents a really strong point. So Mondays are incredibly painful when you have to crawl back to work after the weekend, but what they are good for is this is where it seems that online retail is really peaking. So if you have a look at the yellowy orange bar to the right of screen, it peaks on Monday the 28th. So they're the Boxing Day sales. So that you can see that there's a strong representation online for that. And then in November, you've got the 2 red bars that represents Click Frenzy, which for a relatively slow month in retail, Click Frenzy obviously drives a bit more traffic then. But if you have a look at the ones where I've got the aqua bars around the charts, these are all Mondays. And as you can see, they are the strongest performing day of the whole week. So this is either people that are coming in after a weekend and they're procrastinating, or they're trying to cheer themselves up because they're, first day back at work, so they're actually going online to have a look at the stuff that they can buy. So this is a really key bit of insight, and Monday is a really strong day for shopping in classifieds. So Christmas is no longer just a couple of days, so it's now a week-long and in fact some cases month-long event. These are just an example of a couple of retailers and their Boxing Day sales last year. So as you can see, some of them started it as early as the 21st of December and went right through until the 31st of December. Some started on the 23rd and went right through into January. And then you've got some of the others that started on Boxing Day and finished 2 days later. So this is just a really strong representation of how different brands are treating the Boxing Day sales very, very differently. And one thing that we will be looking into a bit further on is having a look at these brands and seeing why they're actually driving and how they're performing across that period. So as I showed you before, December is a really strong month for retail, and in particular when you break it out by different sites, you can see that for the month of December, eBay, Gumtree and Amazon do really, really well. However, if you just capture that week before Christmas, so that's a week ending on the 26th of the 12th, you'll see that they actually dip down quite significantly, and this is where you see some of the smaller retailers such as JB Hi-Fi, Harvey Norman and Woolworths really come up strong. The other thing I looked at was I just took Christmas Eve as just a day in itself, and I wanted to see what brands are actually performing really strongly on that day. And the interesting thing to see here is it's all those last-minute preparations that people are going through before Christmas lunch. So Woolworths and Coles performed very, very strongly, Dan Murphy's as well, and JB Hi-Fi. So obviously Woolworths and Coles are all food related because everyone goes into a panic that they might not be open on Christmas Day, and Dan Murphy's is to stock up on some wine for Christmas lunch as well. Now JB Hi-Fi is an interesting thing because that is all the gift vouchers. So it's the very, very last minute people that are having a panic attack. They might not have got a present for someone and found out that that person is now buying them one. So they're going online and buying a quick voucher from JB Hi-Fi. So now let's have a look at the gift recap of 2015, and this is where we kind of look at all the different products that peaked throughout that season. So what was hot in 2015? The Fitbit, that seemed to have its huge moment last year. Lego is surprisingly, I think, surprising. If we looked at Lego over the past 30 or 40 years, that would probably still be here because Lego just doesn't seem to go out of fashion. It always seems to be a great present, whether you're buying for a 2-year-old or an 18-year-old, it caters to every age. And then you have a look at some of the other products here. The GoPro, Nespresso, NutriBullet, the iPad, and the only one that was a surprise was the Elf on the Shelf, and I think that was probably just a little bit of fun. Then we go into what toys were must-haves for Christmas in 2015, and it's really good to see that Cabbage Patch dolls have come back because they were huge when I was a child. So it seems that a lot of the things that were big when I was a child are now starting to come back into fashion. And so, you know, the Furbies have come back as well. That's another big thing. Barbie is back. And then you've got some of the new things that are coming in. So the Little Tikes Cozy Coupe bike, Paw Patrol. So anyone that has children will probably be able to, you know, relate to a lot of these products. So then we look at the products that are trending now. So that's, I had a look at the past 6 months to see which ones have seen the strongest growth. Now, one that I wanted to point out here straight away is Pokemon, and that, when you actually look at the trend, has only really started to significantly grow in the past few weeks since Pokemon Go. So that's not a surprise at all because we all know how massive Pokemon Go is. But the other things that are growing quite quickly is, once again, Lego, still growing increasingly quickly over each month. The other one to look at is Ninja Go. I think that's how you pronounce it. So they're actually Lego men dressed up as ninjas. So that's where Lego have obviously collaborated with somebody else and, you know, broadened their reach that way. Now, anyone that has or knows of a 2 to 6-year-old boy knows that this fascination with dinosaurs is absolutely huge. My nephew cannot get enough of them, and Jurassic World is starting to see a resurgence in the toys as well. Hot Wheels, I don't know too much about Hot Wheels, but I know that Matchbox cars, which come with Hot Wheels, have always held a really, really strong affiliation with young kids. The other things to look at is the Dyson hairdryer. So that was released probably about a month or two ago, and that's doing incredibly well. Beats by Dre Bluetooth speaker was also one of the products that seems to be trending quite quickly. But the brand that I wanted to highlight here was Mon Purse. So Mon Purse is, for those that don't know, is you can design your own handbag and you can actually brand it with your own initials. Now this has seen substantial growth in the past 6 months, and this is just off the back of all the other products where you can design your own shoes and design your own handbags. It's becoming a really strong niche part of the market. But that's if you want to buy a nice personalised Christmas present. Mon Purse is probably the product to go for. So then if you look at gift guides for 2016, so this chart or this Wordle is incredibly busy, but if you kind of look past the gift ideas and gift for Christmas, this is where you see Australian search habits are really coming out quite strongly. So you can actually see that people aren't just searching for gifts or Christmas gifts, they're actually going in there and providing a very detailed description of who they are buying for. So they're going in there and searching for Christmas gifts for a 12-year-old boy, or Christmas gifts for my mum, or Christmas gifts for poodle lovers. I don't know if you can see that one on there, but it's definitely there. You know, so Christmas gifts for people who like science. So they're actually putting in very detailed descriptive search terms when they're looking for their products. So this is just a really nice way to showcase that as well. So gifts for him, I've just come up with a couple of different segments here, and I wanted to showcase the top websites that these people are visiting and the top products that they're looking for. This kind of showcases how we can use our data. So if you have certain segments in your consumer base that you would like to, you'd like to determine what products they're looking at and what websites they're going to, we can actually do that as well. So gifts for him, the top websites once again is eBay and Gumtree, but of course you've got the likes of Bunnings, JB Hi-Fi, Harvey Norman, EB Games, and then you've got Woolworths coming in. So if you look at the products itself, iTunes is still, it's probably one of those lame Christmas presents, but it's obviously one of those lame Christmas presents that everybody still loves. Wine is another thing that's coming up really strongly. Sports gear, once again, the Beats by Dre Bluetooth speaker. And now there's also, you can customize and design your own Nike shoes. So once again, it's that whole personalization thing. So these are things that men are currently looking for. Then if I go into gifts for her, it's fairly similar to the websites for him, but there's an introduction of a couple of other sites such as Maya, Kohl's, and Target, and also Woolworths is performing a little bit higher. When you're looking at products for them, cosmetics is obviously a very strong one. The Fitbit has come back again. One that came up which was quite a big surprise, was T2. So T2 gift packs are actually proving to be quite popular for women. Clothing, women can never have enough clothing. I know I can't. And then we've got the Swarovski crystals. So that's actually come up quite high as well. So it's really kind of easy Christmas purchases there. One thing that I found interesting is books came up, and paperback books, not actual ebooks themselves. That was actually something that came up really strongly as well. So these are just some ideas of for gifts for women, the type of products that they're looking at and the websites that they're finding them on. Then we look at gifts for pet lovers. So this is just an example of how we've taken a very niche audience segment and we've looked at the products that they're looking at. So obviously a handheld vacuum cleaner, this is a Dyson vacuum cleaner. If anyone that has a pet knows that they shed quite a lot of hair, so this would be absolutely heaven. Fitbit again, so Fitbit comes up quite a few times. This is because pet lovers are obviously out walking and curiosity, or maybe for health reasons, they're wanting to know how far that they're walking with their dogs. And then obviously technology also comes into this as well. So the power of mobile and where does it fit and how to use it. So I'm not going to ramble on about this because I seem to in every presentation, but Australian consumers are more mobile than ever before. So as you can see from this, the online population is relatively split between 50% desktop and 50% mobile. When you look at shopping and classifieds, it's actually more doing shopping and visiting shopping and classified sites on their mobile phone than they are their desktop. So there's actually been a switch here. So if you are a retail client, including mobile in any campaign or any strategy is vital, because as you'll see from a few more slides, this is where the audience is shifting to. So if we have a look at all the different shopping and classifieds categories, I have a look here to see the mobile reliance and then the population across those categories. This was based off October, November, December, and sorry, that was last year, so that kind of summarises what categories they were going to and how often they're on their mobile. So if you have a look here, everything but video and games records over a 40% usage, on their mobile phone. So video and games actually performs relatively low, which is surprising for mobile, but that is actually those that are looking at purchasing videos and games. The one that's really interesting is the baby products and also grocery and alcohol. So that's over 50% are doing it on their mobile phone, which is really huge stats. So I wanted to have a look at leading into Christmas, how did mobile versus desktop shift? And this is based on an index, so obviously anything over 100 is more likely, anything under 100 is less likely. So as you can see, throughout the year, you know, people that are looking at shopping and classified sites are more likely to be on their mobile. However, there's a really strong jump towards the 28th of November, and that's when the mobile seems to be key. So that's when they're going on and they're doing a lot of research in particular for their Christmas presents. So I've just taken a bit of a gap here because from the 10th of the 10th, 2015, right through until the 26th of the 12th, 2015, it's where you see quite a strong shift and a hold of mobile usage where desktop actually drops off. This is also because people are more out and about in summer as well, so they're less likely to be at their desk because they might be on holidays, or they're less likely to be sitting at home on their desktop when they're out and about. Increase in social media across the summer period as well, because everybody loves to share a picture of them having a cocktail on a beach somewhere. So this is where obviously that's helping mobile growth with the likes of Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. So as I promised, I'd have a quick look into travel and activities. Before I jump into this, obviously travel is a very big category in itself. We release quarterly travel reports which go into a lot more detail. I'll go into those reports shortly, but that's, if you see this and you want to know more, then be in touch because we can run through the travel quarterly reports. So when does holiday planning occur? So this is the spike in travel across right from August through till the end of January, because as you can see here, I'll bring up these, but as you can see here, quite a lot of travel planning goes in early January, so I had to include that period. But you'll see that there's a spike in September, and that's the Christmas holiday planning. That's when they really start planning on when they're going to go on holiday, where they're going to go, how they're going to get there. But it's also the start of the September school holidays, or coming into the start of the September school holidays. So this is the parents that think, okay, school holidays, I don't want to have to organise someone to look after the children, let's go away somewhere. So in this period here, domestic and in particular long weekends is really strong, and in particular websites such as Airbnb and Stays. So that says to me that they're obviously going away, they're not wanting to spend too much money, but they're just needing to escape. Then we have a look at the week of between the 26th of the 12th and the 2nd of the 1st. So these are those that are booking a last minute holiday when they realise that they've got a fair bit of time off in January, so they may as well use it. Or they might be a bit like me and delaying the start of yet another year and thinking, okay, last minute I might go on holiday somewhere, see what's out there. So we see another huge spike in travel across online as well. So I wanted to get an idea of where they're actually looking at. So once again, I used a Wordle chart because I think that they're really succinct in getting the message across. And as you can see, I can see here, and within the data behind it, is the Australian travellers are, especially over summer, liking to stay within Australia. So we saw a lot of the major cities such as Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane come up trumps. Then we saw Perth, a little bit of New Zealand, but then all the other search terms are around New South Wales or even particular towns within New South Wales or Tasmania. Or so this is where we kind of saw that there was a really strong affiliation with travelling within Australia over the Christmas period. Perhaps it's because of Christmas Day being so busy with family. They want to be around family, and then again New Year's Eve is another day that they'd like to spend with family and friends, so they're looking at staying somewhere close. The only really external places or outside of Australia were all relatively close. So it was New Zealand, Fiji and Singapore. So all relatively close, one flight away, but most of the searches for destinations were domestic. So then I wanted to have a look at the top travel websites for summer holidays, and as you can see here, you know, TripAdvisor, Booking.com, Qantas, Jetstar, Virgin. So this says to me that a lot of people aren't doing pre-packaged travel holidays anymore. They're now doing all the booking themselves. It also says to me that they're wanting to get reviews from people. They want to make sure that where they're staying has got good reviews. They want to check, especially with TripAdvisor, where I know that whenever I book somewhere, it's the first thing that I go to make sure that there's actually good reviews. And then the likes of Booking.com, Webjet, What If. So these are all last-minute sale websites. They're offering accommodation for a huge discount. So they're looking at something that's been reviewed, they're looking at something that has been discounted, and they're wanting to organise it themselves. And this is where the whole travelling at last minute is kicking in. So Google Maps is still holding a very large share of all travel visits. It currently holds 30%. That's not a surprise at all, because if once again you go back to the previous slide where we talk about a lot of people wanting to go domestic, this obviously helps with that. So one thing, it didn't fall within the top 10 sites, but the other sites which we saw a very strong performance here were actually government sites. So Transport New South Wales, Vic Roads. So these government travel sites were actually becoming very useful to consumers as well. So travel websites that we're seeing a really strong month-on-month growth with, so this is looking from the past 6 months or 7 months, these sites have seen a huge increase. So Booking.com, Qantas, Airbnb, What If, Weekend Notes, which I actually had to go and look into. So Weekend Notes is basically a website that you can go to get tips and ideas on what to do in particular destinations, but it actually goes into quite a lot of detail, and this has grown significantly. The other thing is cruises seem to be making a bit of a comeback, and this is an area that we'll look into a bit further in the Travel Quarterly reports. But yeah, cruises came up quite strong, in particular the Royal Caribbean. So top tips. A lot of Australians are leaving their Christmas shopping until last minute. So instead of trying to change their actual behaviour and push them to buy Christmas presents a couple of months out, perhaps look at redesigning your approach on how you reach them, when you reach them, and you know, what time of day or day of week you reach them. So understand the last-minute buyers, as there are a lot of them. So profile who they are. Are they more likely to be male, female, younger, older? So have a look at those different areas. Obviously, at Hitwise, we can help do all of those profilings. Boxing Day is now no longer just the Boxing Day sales. It's now Boxing Week sales. So take advantage of the longer sale periods to engage with your consumers and really strum up that interest, because it's becoming a very competitive market for Boxing Day sales. So maybe try and get into them earlier on so that you can build an appointment or an excitement for the Boxing Day sales. Mondays are gold for retailers, as you saw from my previous slide. Sorry about that. So whether it's procrastinating or purchasing, consumers are very active on that day. So also take a mobile-first approach. You saw from the figures before that mobile is key. So consider that in any of your campaigns, and stay on top of consumer trends. So online search is one of the most vital ways in defining and profiling audiences, and so obviously by understanding that you can target and build content off that. So know your audience. It's something that I'm always preaching. So not your actual demographic audience, but your behavioural audience. So by knowing this, knowing where they are, knowing what they're in the market for, you can minimise wastage by only targeting your true customers rather than people that fall within a certain age or gender. So 2 little plugs here. Our custom research team here at Hitwise have got 2 fabulous reports coming out. One is the Christmas report. This goes into a lot more data, so obviously I've skimmed across a lot of the interesting stuff. They go into the nitty-gritty of the arguments and the insights, so that will be out in early August. So please reach out to your account manager, or if you don't have one, the email is at the bottom of the screen here. Please contact us because that report is really, really beneficial. And then obviously as I said, through travel to your individual needs and requirements. So the best thing to do is to drop us an email or give your account manager a call. We're more than happy to discuss building these reports out for you and make them a little bit more niche and beneficial. So thank you for your time today. I kept just under time, which is great. Here are some of the ways that you can contact us and reach out for any further information. You can either email us, go to our website, which is www.connectcity.com/au, and then you can obviously have a look at the blog section, Hitwise or Audience View. Please follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter because we post a lot of our insights on that. And if you have any questions, then please reach out now.
Great. Thanks, Alice. Thanks so much for that. That does conclude the content portion of the webinar. We did get 2 questions through, so if you don't mind, I'm going to quickly ask you and put you on the spot.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so first question we received was, do you have any insight on mobile vouchers and coupons and whether that has any in-store traffic?
Yes, so we actually track coupons and rewards across our platform, and what we can actually do is partner with the retail provider, and we can cross-tab our data with their data to try and come up with an answer on whether or not vouchers or coupons actually drive feet in store. Sorry, I'm stumbling on my words. So there is a way to do it. It's just a matter of reaching out, contact me, we'll have the discussion, but there is a way that we can merge our databases to be able to determine that.
Great, thank you. And also we have one more, and the question is, can we get an indication of what channels are driving the most traffic to specific retail sites, or is it just industries?
Yes, we do. It's our famous clickstream portal, so section within Hitwise. So we can actually determine what websites are driving consumers to your website, and so from that you can say that 30% might be coming from Google, or there might be 15% coming from a campaign that you've done on a certain publisher. So we're able to determine that, and we're able to determine from a category, industry, and website level.
Fabulous. Thanks, Alice. All right, great. Well, so as a reminder to everyone, the webinar will be recorded and a playback link will be sent to you along with the deck. So if you do have any further questions, please reach out to us and we will get back to you. For all the latest insights and trends, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter and our blog page. And thanks again for joining us today. We hope you found today's content really useful.